Today's podcast is brought to you by Fatih Terim, Burak Diamond, and Dominic Toretto. Merhaba, and welcome to the Lion's Den, a Galatasaray podcast. I'm your host, Samet, and today we'll be speaking about several main points. I think we'll start off with Fatih Terim leaving Galatasaray, and then we'll move on discussing a new chapter with Dominic Toretto. And afterwards, obviously, we had a game today, and we'll be discussing, together with my friends here, the game against Hatayspor. Additionally, we might bring up a few topics or transfer new rumors, but probably that'll be it. So, as you've guessed, I won't be alone today. I have my lovely internet buddies from all around the world. So I think, you can feel free to introduce yourself. Maybe we'll start off with John.
Yeah, how's it going, everyone? My name is John from Toronto, Canada. 26 years old. Started supporting the club pretty much, it's been pretty much my entire life. Mostly, I actually come from a full family of Fenerbahce supporters. So I started supporting the club mostly because of my grandmother. She supports Galatasaray, and she used to bring me back jerseys each year. I'm actually from northern Cyprus, so she used to bring back whatever the latest kit was from Cyprus, and I got kind of introduced that way. And I just sort of, I don't know, it just sort of stuck with me despite my family trying to push Fenerbahce and that whole thing on me. I just sort of was able to resist, and I just kind of stuck with it, and here I am on a Galatasaray podcast now, so.
Nice. I didn't know that about you, John, actually.
Yeah.
Good thing you kept your standards high. That's all.
Yeah. The brainwashing didn't work on me.
Yes, Salid, I guess that's you speaking. So maybe you could introduce yourself as well.
Yes. So I'm Salih. I'm 24. I'm from, well, since we include cities now, Tilburg, the Netherlands. And for me, I mean, supporting Galatasaray started, you could say, from birth. It's not something that I necessarily chose because my dad is also a Galatasaray supporter. However, I would say that following it closely was more around the 2011-12 season. Actually, this season, I believe we won as well with Fatih Terim when he came back. And yeah, ever since, been following it and enjoying the many championships we've won. So yeah, that's my story. It's not as deep as John's, but that's just my side. I would say.
Maybe we can then move on across the world. Australia, can you hear us?
I can hear you loud and clear. My name is Mazhar. I'm 22 years old. I'm from Melbourne, Australia, as Samatab mentioned. Pretty much the same as Salih. I didn't really have a choice when it came to being a Galatasaray supporter, but I wouldn't change it for the world. So pretty much my father went to Galatasaray Lisesi actually in the early 80s. So that's where it all started. Inside connections. It doesn't really have any involvement anymore. But he went to Lise in the 80s, and I think I'd say my big initiation into being a Galatasaray supporter was about 8 or 9 years old. And he actually gave me a tour of the school and explained all his stories.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. And being a kid, like seeing the school, and that school seemed massive when I was a kid, and all the stories, because it's a boarding school as well. And that was my initiation, and here I am now.
Nice. And we can save the best for last. Our mafia, Emre.
Hey, you guys don't. My name is Emre. I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
Cancelled coming in like that.
Oh, am I now? Sheesh,
No.
I didn't know.
Nah, go ahead.
Yeah, so my name is Emre. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. Kind of like the others. I was born into Galatasaray, mainly through my mom's side. We've been watching games together ever since, I was a little kid. And I think it's really like watching Haji is what really bonded me to the club. And from there, I was always with this club. Good times, bad times. That's really all it is.
Yeah.
I think there's probably a lot of people that watched like that team and that era, I guess, with Haji and the other players, and they just they were hooked from there. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the fans our age, that's how it started, watching those players, because that was something else. That was incredible, those times.
It was. It really was.
Yeah, it's actually
You guys are lucky.
yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say.
You guys
I don't
haven't
remember
witnessed
much
those
of that.
days, really.
Yeah, I was like
Mm.
what, 3, 4, so wouldn't remember much,
Yeah,
honestly.
we're kids, man. I still got the old tapes, but it's not the same as seeing it live, I guess.
Yeah.
Don't worry, the best is yet to come. Don't worry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Şampiyonluklar bekleyin bizi.
Yeah, so Mazar, don't call me Abi, please. Just makes me feel old.
Okay, I won't do that.
Anyway,
Okay abi.
I think we can start off with the first topic. I mean, at the moment, let's not focus on the game we had today. We'll get to talk about that later on. But firstly, like, a lot happened over the past few weeks. Imperatore and Gala initially it was allegedly mutually agreed to part ways, but after a few tweets and interviews and rumors, we saw actually on a tweet from Terim that it was one-sided. So I think in general, what's your opinion on the things that's been happening? Terim leaving Gala and all that stuff. Maybe John, you can start off and then kick the ball.
For sure. So I think, first of all, with Fatih Terim, I think, we're talking about a coach that has lifted in total more than, I think, 20 trophies with the club, that's incredible. You won't find many coaches in very many clubs that was able to do that, right? So just looking at that before we even dive into, him leaving the club and his performance recently, you have to take that into consideration. Like, we're talking about a legend here, right? And you have to ask yourself if we're ever going to have another coach that can lead our club to that kind of success, because that's incredible, right? Obviously, as everyone knows by now, his last run with the club has been frustrating, I guess you can say. Left us in 12th place. I believe we had 27 points from about 20 games, right? So obviously not what we expected this year. I think that this run that he had, we managed to not score very many goals, which I think was a big problem and a big reason why ultimately he ended up leaving this term and mid-season, right? I think that go ahead.
We were XG king, right? Expected goal.
I mean, I always say that the difficult part of football is building and getting yourself into a position to score, right? I always think that the easy part should be putting the ball in the net. If you've built up from your own half, you've got into the opponent's box or a threatening area. The easy part should be finishing, in my opinion, at least, right? And we managed to do that. That wasn't the problem. We were doing the hard part, but we couldn't manage to score. And I think if we were able to score a few more goals, I think he would have survived at least until the end of the season. And, like, you look at our previous results, right? Like, if you look at the cup match against Denizli, like, we scored 3 goals, probably could have scored 10, right?
Yeah.
I
think we had like
sure.
28 shots or something.
Something crazy like that.
That one felt like a FIFA game for sure. Just when nothing just goes your way.
Exactly.
But I just want to say something. Sorry, I'm just going to cut you off very quickly. You did mention that you think Fatih Terim would stay until the end of the season. I actually completely disagree in the sense that I think he might have left himself. Because when you look at our upcoming games, we're going to have Hatayspor this week. We have Kasımpaşa next week, and then Trabzonspor the week after that. We weren't going to win any of those. We're not going to win any of those. And then,
difficult.
with Fatih Terim, we weren't going to win any of those. Like you were saying, we were getting to the positions, but we weren't scoring. That wasn't going to change. And I feel like Elmas knew this, that it was all going to, all going to fall apart. And Fatih Terim might have resigned because let's be real, he's not exactly young either. So let's just put this scenario.
Maz, I think what would be smart is that Elmas just said, you know what? I'm going to just let this go. Terim's going to lose. Kasımpaşa, Trabzon coming up, Alanya afterwards. And then he'll go away by himself. I think that was the mistake Burak Elmas did by
I don't
pushing it. So
exactly.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't exactly disagree with you on that. But I don't exactly agree either. Look, I feel like 100% Fatih Terim was going to eventually leave because it wasn't going to get any better. Because it's been how many seasons now? We're playing very average football and not football that's up to spec with Galatasaray. So Elmas knew this, and I think he was well. Look, I just want to say this first. A lot of Terimjis, quote unquote, getting mad at Elmas for going behind Fatih Terim's back. Right, that's the biggest thing going on right now.
It's the way we parted.
And yeah, it's they're
Exactly.
saying, oh, the way we parted, which they're not exactly wrong. They're not exactly wrong, but like, what else should he have done? Just say Fatih Terim left, no plan B. He hasn't spoken to anyone. Just say a scenario like that. We would have been gone. Would have been in relegation zone at that point.
Like
In my
finish.
opinion, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong. What should we have waited like Finette until last second, and then wait for a manager for how many weeks did they wait for Lou for? Like it was a couple of weeks at least.
Quite a bunch. Yeah, and
Right.
when we found Torrent, they basically went like, oh
Exactly.
shit, they found a coach, we need someone now, and then they signed, Ismail
Well,
Kartal.
Exactly.
If I can butt in there,
Yeah.
see, the thing with Fatih Terim is, he's a very stubborn person. His personality permits that, right? He wouldn't have left himself. Like, eventually, Burak Elmas was going to have to take him out. He needed to do that in the right time, though. I feel like bringing in a manager in this kind of climate is just going to be bad for the manager that comes to take his place, because we've done this plenty of times before. We've done this with Recurring, with Hamza. We've done it multiple times, and we've seen that the replacements, you don't have enough time to implement your ideology and play good football at the same time. It's hard
Ricky.
to see that happen.
Well, in general, boys, like, do we think Terim leaving at this moment was a good thing? And Torrent came, obviously. How long would you give him until you say, okay, that's enough?
Well, with me personally, I would always like to give a coach at least a year before I'd like to really, comment on his performance. Because 6 months is usually not enough time in most cases, especially in the Turkish league.
Yeah, I think especially for a coach that, what we expect is probably going to implement a lot of changes in terms of our play style. That's really difficult to come in mid-season, 6 months, and turn it around to such an extent where, the team is playing totally different. Like, maybe that's possible, but I agree. I think I'd like to see at minimum a year of working with the team, right? I think that's a good starting point. And, like Emre just mentioned as well, it's like in Turkey, it's always expected that you're going to have an immediate impact and immediate results are necessary, right? And I think that's a huge problem and that's a big downfall, right? Maybe he works 6 months and does poorly and gets sacked, right? And looking back, maybe if we'll say to ourselves, if he was given another 6 months or another 9 months or whatever it is, it could have been a different story, right? And I think that's a very difficult part about Turkey. You have to have that. You have to have that leadership, I guess, aspect in your personality, right? Otherwise, you can get eaten up really quick.
Yeah.
This is why a lot of people weren't, sorry to cut you off there,
Go
but this is
ahead.
why a lot of people weren't really against the sacking of Fatih Terim. It's the timing that's, I think, is the issue with a lot of people.
And how it's done as well. Like, personally, for
Yeah,
me,
that too.
For
Exactly.
me, I would have loved to see Terim throughout the end of the season to finish off his European run, and then the decision would have come. I mean, what would be good is having. I think Burak Elmas said we're going to get Torrent as assistant manager, and then probably his idea was to move him gradually in that position of being the head coach. Obviously, Terim didn't allow that, hence the situation we are in. But I would have loved to see Terim stay until the end of the season, and I think that would be the best, in my opinion. Saleh, what do you think about Terim leaving? Would you think it would be better if he stayed?
Yeah, for me, I'm a bit on the fence as well. I agree with both sides, so to say. On one hand, letting Terim complete his European run would have probably been better because, I mean,
Good
in the
next
end,
Netflix movie.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Actually, we also have that going on. I bet they'll cut Terim off. Probably. I don't know. They did it with Pochettino as well for Tottenham. Anyway, I would have let him continue it as, I mean, yes, our league performance has been, well, atrocious to say the least. In Europe, we did pretty well, and if there's one man to carry us through the European campaign, it probably is Terim. I mean, in the end, we did finish first in the group. We did well against, well, opposition which are clearly better than us. So that's what I would have done. On the other hand, I'm not like completely against the fact that he's sacked, because change was needed. We've been going downhill pretty much. And yes, Tyrion was banned for how many games was it again? 8, I believe. Even when he came back, well, we still lost to indeed Denizli and Giresunspor, which was the final, well, straw. So
Yeah, but I think how he
it's
went.
it's a difficult topic just in general.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it.
I think as well, if we do, when we resume our Europa League campaign, if if things don't go well, I think that there will definitely be some backlash from the fans, like at least the fans that wanted Fatih Terim to stay, right? Because then it just turns into a game of the fans saying, well, if we had Fatih Terim, maybe we could have done better and this and that. So that's another point I can put towards me wanting for the club to wait until after the season to sack him. I would have liked to see what happened with the rest of our European campaign, but again, the league was we were sinking there, so I can't mind the change, right? If even though it did come mid-season, I do agree with that. I am fine with that. So it would have been interesting to see what happened in that European campaign, especially because this is the first one in so long where we're actually doing something, right? Things are
Yeah,
going
exactly.
really well. Like, I don't think anyone imagined us to go 3 wins, 3 draws, 0 losses, 12 points to win the group. I mean, in recent history, that's unheard of for us, right? Especially with the quality of teams that were in our group. So, he led us through the group. We won the group. That's amazing. Hopefully Dominic Torrent can do the rest for us.
And
So
to
we'll
add to
see.
that, he did it with a very young squad, not with a
True.
bunch of overpaid superstars.
True.
Talking about Arda and Babel, or
Yes, exactly.
Please don't remind me.
No.
To add to that though, now that I think of it, one problem I do see again with the sacking of mid-season is, okay, the new coach comes in, he probably has different ideas, tactics, whatever. He'll probably want players, but as far as I know, we don't really have unlimited funds. So who are we gonna exactly bring in or sell in that case? And well, we do have 2, I would say, good players that we could sell, like Kerem and Marcao. But again, selling them mid-season would be, in my opinion, the wrong move.
Yeah,
So
Exactly.
and also to add to that as well, a risk with that is, if Dominic Torrent says that he wants certain players that he thinks will fit his play style, and we go out and buy these players, and he ends up leaving in 6 months, where does that leave these players that we've purchased, right? If we bring in another coach now, then these players don't fit his play style or his system or whatever it is, then that could be wasteful as well, right? So it's tricky. We're in a difficult time now. It's a bit of a tricky scenario. So hopefully we play our cards right and it'll go well for us, right? But definitely tricky.
on top
yes,
of
and oh yeah, you go first, Summit.
on top of all that, I wanted to note as well, like, it's not just Terim leaving. He also took with him a lot of the board, a lot of important
Mhm.
figures within the club. I mean, Mert, our translator,
Mhm.
who had so many good connections and personal relationships with the players, also left. So I don't know if there will be a lot of positive vibes. Obviously, Torrent coming in, things will change. Players will have a bit of fire under their ass to perform, obviously. But yeah, a lot of people that worked hard have also left. I guess they'll still be in the background, but still.
I think we kind of knew that, though, right? Like, Fatih had his boys, and when he left, we knew that a lot of people were going to leave. I guess that had to happen eventually, right? Because Fatih Terim wasn't going to stay with us forever, and as a result of that, his boys weren't going to stay with us forever. But it is pretty sad to see Matt Chetin go, to be honest. I was pretty sad at that.
Yeah,
Even though he was just the translator.
I think
he was a really good
us.
translator.
Yeah, I'm the saddest about that, and most happy about Selçuk, Airpot Boy, and Necati leaving.
Yeah.
Come on.
Ponytail. Yeah, alhamdulillah, I don't mind that, man.
I mean, look, he wasn't the greatest assistant coach, but come on, he's an important figure for us, you know. And the fact that the club didn't say anything when he left is kind of, you know, unsettling to me personally.
I heard some rumors that when he left, it was on really bad terms, not just with the club, but couldn't really do his job as an assistant manager, right? Apparently, according to some reports, he was really
I don't
upset
doubt
about that. Yeah, apparently, like he was really upset the fact that he just couldn't be an assistant manager properly.
Well,
Was
maybe
he saying it in terms? I'm sorry, someone just wanted to reply.
yeah.
Is
Reply.
he couldn't be an assistant manager because of Terim or of other people in the club.
I guess that's just open for discussion. Really, there isn't anything specific, but from some decent sources, I have seen that.
Mm.
But it could be because of Terim. Most likely is because of Terim. I don't want to point fingers, but who else is it going to be?
That's true. I mean, he isn't his
Because-
first assistant either, right?
Yeah, we had Riera last season, I think. Yeah, last season, and he didn't come back.
I think that's the
for
biggest
this season.
mystery for me. Like, why did Riera
Ah.
leave? I still don't get it. I've
Is
heard
it a mystery?
rumors. Well, I've heard rumors he
Yeah.
didn't want to be an assistant manager and coach a team himself, but that's all I know. I'm
Yeah.
surprised none of the Turkish media has picked up and questioned this.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really is a mystery, like you said. But
Well,
what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
I'm gonna move on to well, we discussed a bit of the general events. Obviously, we can keep on going for ages about this, but moving into a new era. So, new topic about Dominic Toretto. So, no, Dominic Torrent font in full is his name. I'll ask you guys what you think about him, what he'll do in the future. But before that, I'll give some general statistics and introduction that I checked on. So apparently he's 59 years old, will become 60 this summer. He played professionally as a midfielder in the 80s for several Spanish clubs, apparently, for 10 years. So he's a Selçuk of the 80s, basically. But not on a high level, though, very low. And his coaching career actually started in the 90s when I was born, 6th division Spanish league, and then moved to the 3rd, and then moved to like managing Girona, who we all know from the Spanish league, in the 2nd division. It was around 2005, 2007. And in 2007 is, basically his value becomes more apparent, right? So he starts working with Pep staff throughout Barcelona, Bayern, and Man City. And then 2018, via the Manchester City connections, he went to New York City as a head coach. He came in middle of the season, finished 3rd, and Atalanta won in the playoffs. Apparently in the US they have playoff systems like we had once in the Turkish league as well. And from what I have
One season.
from what I have checked, he didn't handle interviews very well there, and I think he even said the fuck word as well, live on TV against the reporters.
Wow.
Like, that alone
Wow.
shows I don't know what he'll do in Turkey. We will see. And then
Should have a good time in Turkey then.
yeah. Oh, we all remember. Was it Tudor? Damn, that was already insane.
Oh no.
So after half a season at New York City, he did a full season in 2018-19, and he actually became first, right? But then again, they have the playoffs. So in the playoffs, they lost against Toronto. I don't know if you know that, John.
I do know that.
Yeah. And and that was his end in the U.S. And then he moved on to Flamengo, and he came in right after Jorge Jesus won all the cups with Flamengo, and all we can see is he had a very bad spell at Flamengo, like today, taking 4 or 5-0 losses even. And last statistics I wanted to give away. So 1.5 years ago, he was at Flamengo, and the last 20 games he had with Flamengo, 10 of them was a win, 5 draw, and 5 losses. So that's in general. So knowing this a bit, having researched this, what do you think Torrent, like how long do you give him, first of all, for Gala? And do you see him becoming successful or not? Emre
Well,
or Salih, go ahead.
I took
it's
Emre's
fine.
spot, unfortunately. What I would say is, I think as discussed before, I would give him like at least a year to see what he's trying to build and see if there's indeed improvement or not. I wouldn't say like 6 months is, definitely not enough to change too much around, in my opinion. What I think of Torrent, I mean, very interesting choice, as he's been Pep's assistant for indeed 500 plus games. So, while working on the Pep does probably mean you know something about football. But then again, he's been assistant for most of the time. He's only managed like 80 plus games or something. And to me, I do wonder that if you're for that long under, for example, a Pep, wouldn't you have left the club earlier to start for your own? Isn't that like a dream, I would say, if you're an assistant manager that you want to manage at some point? So I'm a bit just doubtful, I guess, right now. I can't lie that I'm excited, of course, since we have a new coach since 2017, the end of 2017 when Terim came. But yeah, if there's something I could advise him on to improve our team on, is to be better at defending counterattacks and finish our scoring chances, as John said previously as well. Actually, I think everyone probably agrees on that, right?
Yeah, 100%. I just want to add to something you said about him being Pep's assistant manager. Okay, so from what I understand from my research, they've been together since Pep was at Barcelona B, I want to say. And then he was an analyst, pretty much. He was just analyzing and giving reports to Pep. After when Pep went to Bayern, I think he officially became an assistant manager there. So the assistant manager started when Pep was at Bayern, and then he was a set piece specialist, kind of. He was a set piece coach, and we all know how Bayern's set pieces were under Guardiola. They were amazing. But so we can say that his assistant manager career started when Pep was at Bayern, and before that he was pretty much just an analyst.
I didn't know that.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. What else can you say about Torrent? I mean, all I hope basically is for him to indeed, do well. I mean, I hope that of everyone, of course. But since he's also not Turkish in this case, I hope he's also able to handle the media, as it'll probably be pretty, I would say toxic. Yeah, exactly.
It's always a challenge, yeah.
That's where me personally, I like Torrent. I like his tenure under Pep because, like you guys said, you can't really be his right-hand man if you're not useful to him, right? But that doesn't really mean you're going to be able to coach in Turkey. Not necessarily saying he can't coach, but in Turkey, it's a different scenario, right? Most coaches that come here, they have to deal with more than just the football. That's the problem. You have to deal with the shady refereeing, the media, and players in general. Turkish players aren't the same, and you need to be able to deal with the foreign limit. So I'm interested to see how he can cope with all these issues at hand, and at the same time making us play better.
Yeah, for me, he has
sure.
a 1.5 year. Like in 6 months, at the end of the 6 months, I'll say, okay, I like him or not. Let's give him another year. Let's see how it goes. But if he still isn't showing anything after 1.5 years, I think, well, we recycle, rinse and repeat, and ask Fatih Terim back, I guess.
But yeah,
Oh, no.
as far as I know, his contract is for 1.5 years, right? It's until
Yeah.
at the end of
Yeah.
2023.
How much did he get?
Yeah, okay.
And his
I think it's
whole
1.5
crew
million.
Yeah.
is 1.5 million euros.
But that's his whole staff, right? That was not just
That's
him.
Yeah.
including him
Yeah,
and his
that's everyone.
staff. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
That's-
so much
pretty
cheaper
good.
than Terim, right? So that's pretty good.
100%.
I think
100%.
one thing as well. You know, he's been with our club for just a few days now, right? And so I don't want to I don't know so much about him, right? But just looking at how he seems, like not looking at his playing style or anything yet, but just how he seems as a coach and as a person, I think it's interesting that, to me at least, he looks almost opposite from Fatih Terim, right? Like you have Fatih Terim, he's never been really known as being a tactician or the best tactically, but he has a head coach presence, right? He's a master in motivation and inspiring players, right?
A very good man manager indeed.
For sure, and he has that boss aura around him everywhere he goes, whether it's on the sidelines, press conferences, wherever he is, you can tell Fatih Terim is the boss, right? And then you have someone in Dominic Torrent who looks and seems a little different. He's a bit more quiet, but exactly, he's a bit more quiet. He has that what we assume that tactical I guess mindset, right? As opposed to Fatih Terim. And I don't know, I don't know if you can have one or the other. I think, in my opinion, I think you need to have both, right? So maybe Dominic Torrent will be amazing tactically, and we'll see changes tactically and the way our team plays. Maybe that will improve, but maybe he'll struggle in the jungle that's Turkey, right? And the pressures that come with that. So it's going to be an interesting thing to see. And I don't know. We don't know if Dominic Torrent is a good head coach. We don't know. Like we mentioned before, he had the decent run with New York City, went to Brazil, didn't have the best time in Brazil, right? So we're going to see, does he have the leadership? Does he have that coach present? Does he have the ability to motivate our players? I have no idea, right? So it's going to be interesting to see for sure.
I guess.
May I throw in a question
Mhm.
then?
For sure.
So for you guys, what you think of? I think it was one of his first quotes, right, saying that after analyzing the team, he said, "Well, this team doesn't know any tactics, like zero." What you think of that?
Yeah,
It's not surprising. It's not surprising at all.
How true is that, though? That
it's
he said that?
100% true. It's 100% true. It's from, well, I think Kadir said it on Ajans 1905, so it's pretty much the best source. So pretty much what he said physically the team is fine. So in fitness the team is fine, but he said tactically they are very behind. There's a lot of things that the team is missing, or they just straight out don't know, which is very worrying. But like Jan said, it's not surprising, because from the way we were playing, like we're in the final third and we just can't pass. We're just making so many blunders as a team collectively as well. It's not like for example, we know Thailand and Batkan always make the blunders in passing offensively. We know that, but with Fatih Terim, I feel like everyone was doing that, and we're playing so narrow.
Yeah, Thailand, yeah.
So now,
Berkan, not so much, but yeah, Thailand has made a lot of.
well, yeah. I think Batkan does quite a few as well, and flies under the radar. But Thailand, yeah, like you said, Thailand's definitely much more.
It's more obvious because he's at a critical position, right? So
Exactly right.
I think as well, what we can expect in terms of Dominic Torrent's style and what he will try to improve on. I think that, I think it's I don't want to say obvious, but I think that everyone will sort of assume that we will have this sort of possession-based game, which might be true, but I think more so than that, what he'll try to do is, I think he'll try to improve us in terms of our positional play. And what I mean specifically by that is, improving the way that we put the ball and ourselves in areas where we have numerical superiority, right? So people always say Pep Guardiola, he's the master of possession style football and this and that. But in order to achieve that, you need to have numerical superiority on the field, right? And as of right now, in my opinion, we don't have that. I don't think that we split the field into different areas where we're playing in 3v2s, 4v2s, 2v1s, right? That's how you keep possession. Our team doesn't really do that right now at all. So I hope to see some improvement there. And as well, you can improve defensively that way as well, right? Like if you have numerical superiority on the field in certain areas, if you're in a corner or a side of the pitch where it's a 4v2 and you lose the ball, you have better odds of winning the ball back if you have an overload of players there, right?
Yeah, 100%,
so
100%.
I'd love to see that. I'd love to see the improvement in that regard, and I think that will help us not only keep possession, but be able to get into the opponent's half, set up there, keep the ball there, and ultimately score more goals, right? So I would like to see that. I expect him to sort of try to implement that, but again, we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Time will tell. But do you think we have the players to achieve that at the moment?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. I think we're missing a few pieces.
If you look at Guardiola and what he's done at Man City, how much did he have to spend to actually put his philosophy forward? A lot of money.
Expensive
So
philosophy.
if it's going by, it's an expensive, exactly. And we're not really made of money. We just paid our players after 2.5 months of them not being paid. So it's kind of worrying where our financials are at. See, that's one of my main concerns about Torrent. Is he going to be able to put forward his tactics with players he's not really capable of doing it with, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a genuine concern for sure.
Yeah. I was watching an interview of Torrent, I think it's from a while ago when he was in New York, but the first thing they asked him, they're like, is it important to adapt your tactics to the team or buy players that fit your tactics? And the first thing he said was you need to fit your tactics to the team. You need to try not to think about buying players as soon as you get to the team. You want to try to work with what you've got, and then if you have a bit of dead weight, if you needed a few players, then you can start looking. But I guess that's a bit promising that he doesn't want to straight out buy.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
We have a lot of dead weight on our team, though. That's the big issue.
Yeah, we do definitely.
So you say dead weight. So where would you say our dead weight mainly is? Like, I mean, I for one would say the number 6 position. We indeed have Thailand, Berkan, Aytaç, which I don't even want to start about, and
yes,
Asunkao, which we've only seen one game in that horrible Kayseri game.
Dead weight, like players we don't really utilize well. Like I'm sure Thailand can be utilized in other positions.
Bro,
well,
when Riera was at Gala, Thailand was doing massive. Like, he was doing very well.
Well, you mentioned Riera. He's also someone we repositioned as a player when he was with us.
Yeah, left back.
Exactly.
Needed well.
So we need someone that can actually take what we have and make something out of it. That's what we need. Because I don't know how much we can be, buying players, or we're just going to be Lone Sarai again. So,
and it's not like we're horrible either. Like we do have solid players. I think that there's just some gaps, I guess, that we either need to improve players in those positions, or if we can't, then maybe we do need to bring players in. But I don't think it's too much of a tall order. Like we do have good players in the team. I think that there's just a few spots that need some tightening.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I would agree with that personally. I mean, if you look at last season and this season, last season we finished second, and if you look at the plays that we've replaced on those few positions, I wouldn't necessarily say we had like any downgrades, to be honest. I mean, we got rid of on the left. Well, we still mainly used Babel pretty much last season. Well, I'm glad I don't have to see him anymore. On the left, it was Sarachi, pretty good, but getting injured quite often. So, not that I'm super happy with Patrick van Aanholt, but at least
he's consistent.
As injured, yeah, he's consistent. I just personally, I just wouldn't say that our team has necessarily become worse due to transfer, but yeah, we still need to improve. Just the question is will be where and how.
Time will tell.
And indeed, yeah, time will tell. Last season was mainly we can't create chances. This season is more like we can't finish them. So I guess we're going the right direction, but yeah, still not enough.
Our
Yeah.
team isn't bad. It didn't regress, but it did get a lot younger. So
Yeah.
part of the reasoning why we might not be able to finish could that have stemmed from them being inexperienced? Like Mohammed came from the Egyptian league to our league. It's a big step forward, you know? So I
It
think
is.
it is a big step forward, and we need someone that could actually help him progress. Because if you look back, Fatih Terim hasn't really been known to be playing with, inexperienced young players. He's always gotten people who were fresh and like close to their prime to come and play for him. So I think that's one of the things that's really hurt him as well.
But
Well-
times have changed, and Fatih
Times
Terim
have changed.
needed to change because let's
Yeah.
face it, we're not going to be able to keep up with the way the modern football is going. We don't have that kind of money,
He's gone now,
so we need it.
and we have
Exactly.
Dominic
Yeah, exactly.
Torrent.
Okay.
Best thing we can have close to Pep Guardiola. Time will tell. But he might also be basically, when you're at school and you're in a project team, and you have one guy doing everything, and another guy that just sits there and gets the straight A's next to you because he's in your project team. Who knows? He might turn out like that as well. We don't know. But I don't know if there's anything else you want to discuss about Dominic Torrent before we continue.
All
to
I can
Hatay.
say is, since he's a foreigner, I hope he doesn't turn out to be like Prandelli or something. I do honestly hope he is quality and will at least this season bring us just closer to the top 4 spots, so to say. That's all I can hope right now. Like
Yeah.
the championship is gone anyway. Just
Yeah,
focus on
100%.
Europe, I guess, and try to get just try to do good. I'm not expecting much more.
I think I'm just the only thing that I ask is that he's given the time, because if he's not given the time, we won't know if he's cut out for it or if he's not good enough, right?
Yeah.
If he's given the time and it doesn't work out, then at least we can say he wasn't the right choice for us, and we know for certain, right? But it would be typical, I guess Turkish league Galatasaray fashion for him to leave after 6 months, and for us to half of the fan base to say no, he showed us already he's not a good fit, and the other half to be saying he didn't get enough time and this and that. So I hope he's given the time and we can see if he's for us or if he's not for us, right? So
Yeah,
Yeah.
luckily for us. I say luckily. We don't know with Elmas, obviously, but so far, I would say that we've given like about a year, right, to other coaches as well. Like Tudor had about a year, I think, as well. Rikerenk had about a year. Denizli was pretty short for a short stint with us, obviously, but Mancini had like a year as well. So yeah, I hope they stick to that at least, and indeed just give a year. 6 months would indeed be too short, in my opinion, as well.
What I want to talk about.
Mhm.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I wanted to touch on what John said. Typical Turkish fashion, switching coaches every 6 months. See, that's what I want to avoid, because we don't really have the luxury of finding a new coach, paying that coach every 6 months. Because we see where that got Fenerbahce in the last, 7 years. They've been doing that and that exclusively. Whereas they kind of have the money and the sponsorships to back that up. We do not have that. And I really hope he's the one to help us, change this mindset and take us to the right direction.
We need the fans on our side as well. I mean, the fans need to be
Yeah.
patient, and that's the biggest problem in Turkey. We are present on Twitter and Instagram, and and you can hear what the fans want most of the time, and it's
This-
usually reactionary, and that's the problem. We have to be patient.
This goes back to how you said it. Like, this is why we feel like Burak Elmas made the wrong decision, to sack. Not that sacking Terim was the wrong decision, but the way he did it and the timing. Because now you
The way and the
essentially
time.
have
Yeah.
2 split sides to the equation. One side that
True.
wants,
Chaos.
chaos, and one side that actually wants something better for Galatasaray.
And Terim lovers, Terim haters, time will just tell, and we just have to support our team and see how it goes. And
Exactly right.
with that said, not very excited today, unfortunately. We all know how the Galatasaray Hatayspor game today went. We lost 4-2. We played with Ismail Jipe in the goal, Arnold on the left, Marcao, Alpaslan as the centre-back duo. We got Boe on the right, and then in the midfield we got Thailand, Berkan in front of them, Chico Dao, Kerem on the left, Emre Kılınç on the right, and Halil up front. So, in general, how did you think the game today went? I mean, we can discuss also in link with what we already have discussed about Terim and Torrent. But yeah, let's start off with starting XY. Do you agree with this XY?
Just before answering, I do have to say that indeed the defeat did hurt you a lot. You can hear it in the way you named our lineup.
Yeah.
You know,
Sorry.
he's like Bowie, Alpaslan, Marcao. You know.
Yeah.
Just some pre-game info, I guess. So, well, obviously Cagne, Muslera, and Kaan Aslan are injured. Nelson was suspended, and Feghouli and Mostafa are at AFCON as of now. Luyendama, Arda, and Babel were not in our camp, brought along. I don't know what you guys thought about that we did not include those guys.
Well, I feel like at least you and Luyendama should have been invited because we saw what happened with Alpaslan. He was very close to getting a red card. And I don't think today was his best game either. So I agree with Arda and Baba. I don't think they're fit for this team, but at least Luyendama, you have options.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Did we have another center back on the bench? I don't actually even remember. Let me see quickly. No, actually, yeah, we had no other center back on the bench as well. So
yeah,
that was an interesting choice.
Maybe that would have been a good idea to include Luyendama then, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Some rumors going around that he might be transferred though.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He injured two of our own players. You know, I kind of see why he might have not been brought along, but then again, you never know.
You mean the rumor of Luyendama going to Antwerp?
Yes.
Yeah. They might be loaned out, but there hasn't really been real transfer rumors this window.
Yeah, that hasn't really heated up yet. The whole, I mean, maybe there's stuff going on behind the scenes, but that might have just been overlooked or sort of clouded by the coaching changes, right? So maybe in the coming days or the next week or so, maybe the transfers will start heating up. I expect them to do in Turkey. I would expect nothing less, but that's a good point. With all the coaching changes, I really didn't even notice the transfers have been kind of quiet.
Yeah. I live for the transfer window, so I'm really keen to see that.
It's usually hell.
Right. I mean,
last minute hell.
I mean,
it's always the last minute ones.
So what did we think of the? Now I was just gonna, I guess, start a bit about the match reactions. So I think it's probably easier to speak half by half. So in the first half, the things I noticed was that in the first 10 to 15 minutes, Hatay did actually come quite close to a goal about 2 times. One was with Juf, I believe, for my header. And the other one was with, well, I don't even want to say his name, but Kamara. He also missed the goal from, well, about, 10 yards or something.
He should have been gone first half already, Kamara.
Yeah, he was a very dirty player together with that Ribeiro.
Very handsy.
Yeah. After that, though, I do have to say for about 15 to 20 minutes, we did have a good stretch of play. We were pressing them in their own half. Nice combination play. I mean, unfortunately, it didn't lead exactly quickly to. Actually, it did lead to our goal, Emre Kılınç, but I did like that part. And then afterwards, well, we conceded a pen, unfortunately, which I do have to say was a pen. And then we ended it with the Kerem free kick, which I think all of us saw the video of where he was training on his free kick, and he scored the exact same way. Yeah, exactly.
I got goosebumps when he went to take that free kick, man. I'm like, it has to happen. It just fits the scenario. He needs to score this.
Yeah.
I was watching it before bed. It's the weirdest thing. Like I was watching the video before bed, and I was thinking, if he's doing this in training, I'm like, man, he really needs to be doing this in the game because we haven't actually. I read a statistic as well that today was the first time that we scored a free kick in an away match since 2017. Wesley
Snyder.
Yeah, Wesley Snyder scored it. It was 20. Like that's crazy. 2017.
That's really crazy.
It's been years. That's. I don't know. That's a crazy statistic, but
5 years.
yeah, it's funny that it just felt weird. Like I was watching it before bed, and now he does it in the match. That's brilliant, man.
Torrent's here for his set pieces, right? He's known for him, and kind of did prove he's the master of set pieces. So even in our corners, I feel like we're more threatening, to say the least.
When was the last time we scored it from a corner?
I don't know, but it's been a long
don't
time.
Start.
Yeah.
But
like it's
yeah,
been like
I mean,
300
games. Besides that, what did you guys think of our play in the first half? Because I think the second half was well, we saw what happened there. But
I have a
what do you think of the first half?
very simple explanation. I didn't expect anything from Torrent to change a lot this game. I think it continued from what Terim had already done. We got in positions, and again we got countered a lot. So in general, I didn't see a lot change there, but very obvious changes I did see is it's nice he brought Emre Kılınç back in, and he actually did perform fairly well today.
In his actual position as well. Keep in mind, he is naturally a winger, but we haven't really seen him in that position very much for us, right?
Exactly.
So I was happy to see that. I thought he played pretty well there too, for the most part.
Yeah.
And then
we've seen it actually once. Sorry to cut you off there,
no.
real quick. We've seen Emre Kılınç there once though. It was against Trabzonspor where he scored those 2 goals, but then he got subbed off unfortunately. But yeah, go ahead, Summit.
Yeah, don't need to apologize when you cut me off. Just continue. It's fine. So another thing that I clearly saw, I think John mentioned it during the game as well. Çikıldağ was way more upfront than normal, like almost like a 10. And you saw Berkan behind him, helping him in the pressing as well. I think that was nice to see. That was very clear changes he had done. Other than that, probably has done before, but I liked how our backs moved. Like when Sasha Boy went all the way up, you saw that Alpaslan was really covering well the right back. And then you saw, obviously, Marcao and Patrick van Aanholt then going into center. You could see it's more compact in the middle. That's definitely what you could feel and see. But again, we got countered and... not so happy about today's game. Let's just put it at that.
Our attacking positioning has definitely improved, whereas I think as a result of that, our defense has definitely gotten worse. If you look prior to our recent games, this is the first time we've actually conceded more than 3 goals in the Super League.
Yeah, usually it was individual mistakes that we got conceding goals. Now it was actually from plays that we conceded goals.
That's
not having
true.
Nelson hurt too.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, not gonna lie, our defense, except for Marcao, indeed, and even he wasn't that spectacular tonight. Our defense in general was just pretty bad. I don't even want to start about the keeper, but Alpaslan, bro, the entire match, since he had that yellow in the first 20 minutes or so, or 15, he was just still tackling and such, and I was like, oh boy, don't get the second yellow, man. We can't use this. Berkan, awful. Thailand, well, a stupid red card, but yeah, besides that, also not that good.
I think as well, for the first half, one thing I noticed is there was, I think it was more towards the beginning or maybe the middle of the first half, but there was some moments where our patience and passing in the final third was really good. Really good. There was one moment in particular I remember on the left-hand side between, I think it was Van Aanholt and Çikıldağ. And it was really good. They weren't forcing the ball or anything. We were totally set up in their half, and we had the patience, and we were keeping possession, and it did lead to a half chance there to score, which I'd love to see. In the second half, I thought it was something. We'll get to that in a bit, but I think that totally changed, and I have some things to comment about that. But in terms of the first half, I like to see those moments. And the goal that we scored was beautiful. It was a beautiful goal. Yeah, it was an excellent goal. Sorry, go ahead, Emre.
I was gonna say what you were talking about on that left side. That persistence of staying there and not, passing all the way back to the goalie is something that I love to see.
Right.
Because before then, we would just go pass back, pass side to side, and just repeat and rinse that over and over again. So it's nice to see that.
Horseshoe our way in, basically.
And the goal as well. It was like I said, it was beautiful. Berkan put a beautiful ball through. Van Aanholt ran onto it, and it was actually a really, really good quality cross. And Emre came second post and tapped it in. And it was beautiful. And I think before Berkan put that pass through, there was a small build-up. Maybe it was Berkan and Taylan short passes, and Berkan put the long ball through, and he ran onto it. So that was beautiful. Unfortunately, shortly after that, he had the missed penalty, which was kind of frustrating, obviously, considering we lost 4-2. I mean, we had the chance to go 2-0 up there, and we couldn't take that chance.
I think I heard it was because they wanted to honor Ahmet Calik, and Patrick Van Aanholt had the number 6, like Ahmet Calik had, and that's why he took the pen, they say. I don't know how much of it is true.
That seems like I don't know, man. Could be true, but seems like a stretch.
That's something you do
maybe.
When you're like 3-0 up. You don't really do that when you're 1-0 up.
That was an important moment for us, and maybe I don't know if that's true, but personally, I probably would have had Chikaldao take that penalty.
Yeah.
He's actually, I believe, he's the only one of our players that has scored a penalty this season. We had Jagne missed one, Mostafa Mohamed missed one. Now Patrick Van Aanholt missed one. So, and I kind of felt for him as well. He was visibly upset after he missed it. It wasn't really a great penalty either, to be honest. So I don't know. It was a missed opportunity for us. We could have put ourselves in a good position there, but didn't go that way.
We suck at penalties, don't we? Jesus.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get better. But I think after the penalty, like you were talking about our passing in the final third, which was pretty good to see. Really, a lot of one-touch passes as well, and not too many blunders. And I feel like that all kind of started to fall apart after, unfortunately, Patrick Van Aanholt missed the penalty. I think that's just something I noticed. What do you guys think? Did you guys notice the same as me? Or?
Yeah, I think that was a bit of a turning point, bit of a changing point. And like those moments are always those can always be make or break moments, right? Even if it's early in the match, if you score the penalty, you go 2-0 ahead and the whole team has that boost, right? If you miss one and it remains 1-0 and then they tie it 1-1, you kind of keep that in the back of your head for the rest of the match, right? And you tell yourself, man, this could have been avoided. So maybe that played a role in our mindset and our confidence in the rest of the match. But I think that I agree with you, definitely. I think that was a bit of a turning point.
Yeah, to add to that, I mean, I do agree with Mazhar in this case that indeed after the penalty, like up to the penalty basically and to the first goal, we were indeed pretty aggressive and playing on the opposition's half and such. But after that moment, it just completely 360'd. Like it completely turned around. We couldn't get out of our own half at all. We were just passing between our basically defenders and defensive midfielders all the time. And then Kerem came with the free kick, obviously, to get us our second beautiful goal.
I love his celebration, bro.
Yeah, the Harry Potter thing. Yeah, I had actually no idea it was Harry Potter until someone told me that he was doing that.
I was trying to figure out what he's doing. I'm like, what's going on
there? Weird ass hand movements. Yeah, I had no idea.
But
someone said
that missed penalty definitely.
Someone said that's a very long spell to kill Voldemort.
But yeah, so I guess in conclusion, first half we had good moments, but it wasn't perfect, obviously. It was kind of 50-50. But the second half, though, what do you guys think of that?
I think
kind of a disaster, but yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, it was, honestly. Like I think the opening 20 or so minutes, was pretty much the opposite of the compliment I made a few minutes ago. Like, there wasn't really any patience at all. We were kind of struggling to get out of our defensive third, and once we did, we just seemed to be always forcing the ball, which wasn't working, right? And that was really frustrating to see. And we were having obviously a hard time building up and settling into our opponent's half. So that was kind of frustrating, that good passing and patience that I mentioned before. Kind of, we seem to have lost that in the second half. And in the first half, it seemed like we started what seemed like a 4-2-3-1, and that drastically changed. So there's a substitution. Halil came out, iTouch came in, and Chicaldao started playing even higher. And when right, exactly. And when those changes were made, iTouch kind of slipped in between Marcao and Alpaslan, and our fullbacks were a lot higher, and it seemed like we were playing a 3-4-1-2, and Emre and Kerem came in, and they were playing a lot more narrow, and we were getting our width from our fullbacks who were a lot higher, right? And I don't know how I feel about that decision. I think that we looked decent attacking, but defensively maybe it caused some issues, and we conceded 2 more goals, right? So
some issues.
Yeah.
I mean, just like you said, we started to have like a pretty high line, but indeed, like the goals they scored, I mean, both scored both goals from Lopianice. They were just a long ball over the top, or one was actually just a through ball, but we were so exposed in the back, and it was just a easy finish for them, just a quick counter attack. I mean, we saw this under Terim, with the last few games as well, but pretty disappointing to see the way we conceded that quickly, actually.
I wanted to say, like, for Sacha Boey, I love Sacha Boey since he came on. Like, the way he played, lots of confidence, and today was actually the first time where I was like, defensively, I wasn't very happy with him, but it has to do with our game as well, of course. But what I still like is he's always there at the post when the opportunity comes. Like, he's there, ready to kick the ball.
Very attack-minded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think it's not a good. Yep.
Go ahead.
Okay. Look, it's not really a good game to judge him off. Like, it was a pretty bad game. Let's be real. Like, we didn't play amazing, to say the least, and also coming off a long injury. I'm really like he's not really in form. He's really out of form right now. I think he will get much better. I think offensively, I think he was pretty much fine. I think we just collectively as a team, we weren't that successful. But he will definitely come around. I'm also a Sacha Boey believer.
Yeah,
let's see how that turns out.
Let's also not forget
the
partners. Yeah. Let's also not forget the partners he had close to him. It were Berkan and Alpaslan. I mean,
exactly.
Just a dangerous trio on that side. Just they all three just had like pretty bad performances. Also didn't help. They all were on yellow cards, so they couldn't really, tackle hard, I guess. Because you know what would have happened with the ref today. Giving out yellow cards for free, basically.
Okay. I was surprised how long we held it off without even touching on the refs. Like, I was gonna congratulate Emre for it.
I try very hard to keep it in, so I don't. We're talking about football here. I don't want to make this a podcast about TPF and talk all about them.
Well, one thing's
I wanted to give you guys the opportunity.
Yeah, one thing's for sure. Salih started it. And no, there's definitely a big impact this season by the refs to Galatasaray and the position we're in.
Absolutely.
I think no one can deny that. And unfortunately, it is the sad truth. You have to play the game and beat the refs.
Yeah, I think in this match as well, for me, I think it was the third goal that Hatay scored. I think there should have been a foul on Sacha Boey on the right side. Like, I was kind of surprised to see that. I think that was a foul, and they ended up scoring from that play. So I wasn't really happy with that. But we know the story by now. We're 20 or so games into the season. We know how it goes by now. So I don't really know what to think about that. Obviously, I'm not happy with it, but I try my best not to focus so much on that and more on what our team is doing and how to improve, because I think that we're always going to have those moments, and whether there is some type of agenda or something against our club, I think we have to be better regardless, right? We can always be better. We have to be better, and it's it sucks to see, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
The thing is, you can be as good as you want, but if there's an outside influence on play,
it becomes difficult for sure.
Because there are going to be games where you're not going to be able to open up the opponent, and if there's a penalty that needs to be given, You can't beat the rep every single game. It's just not possible, and that's one thing I'm hoping that Torrent can deal with. And unfortunately for him, if he does not get the results because of some outside factors, like the reps, it's going to look bad on him, and he's going to get the brunt end force of that. And I don't want to see that.
I think Torrent will not care much about the refs. He probably came in like, okay, just play your game. And you saw that from the post-match interview with Patrick Van Aanholt. He said, I don't want to talk about the referees. I missed the penalty, and I'm sad about it. It could have been different. So I think they'll focus mostly on their game, which is good, obviously, to play better. But on the other hand, when Fatih Terim was there, he was basically incentivizing their players to speak up about the refs and stuff, which you saw, obviously, that in some of our games, we weren't even playing football. We were just busy with the ref, which is also why we lost. Like, that's also something to be said for.
There were games where we played well and still lost. Because of dumb decisions. Whereas we concede a penalty, whereas some other teams, they do the same thing, but they don't. There's no consistency in the league.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest issue with the Turkish Federation and the MHK. There's no consistency. So one last final point. Let me make this point clear. when reps give us the brunt end of the stick, they get rewarded. But if there's a rep that does not, and they give us favors in our call, you don't see them play. For example, after the Rize game, right? Ali Palabıyık hasn't been given a game to ref till now. So someone please explain to me, why is that a thing?
Do you have your aluminium hat on, or is that for real?
It is for real.
Look, I just want to say one thing though. I know the refs suck. We know this. They're very inconsistent, and it's clear that there is an agenda against Galatasaray. But you'd rather play good and then lose the game because of the refs, compared to what we were doing. Unfortunately, on the Fatih Terim, like Samet mentioned, we were playing terrible. We were barely playing football, and we were also getting thinged by the refs. So let's just hope that we can start playing good. And the refs aren't going to change. Look, I guess we just have to try and beat them. We can't just give up.
Small correction.
As much as it sucks.
I didn't think we were playing bad. I think we, like John said, we couldn't finish, and there was things to improve. But we were getting into the zones, the opportunities of scoring. We just couldn't tap them.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that was the main issue.
I guess.
But having talked about the ref, I think Maz, you just woke up. You probably need to go to work, so let's not keep going
That's
on
okay.
longer.
It's all good. It's all good.
So I'll just sum it up what we discussed a bit. In general, thank you, boys, for making the time to discuss a bit. We'll continue doing this. We have Thursday a game against Kasımpaşa, and then 3 days after Trabzon. So it's going to be interesting. So we might do another one on Sunday next week. Discuss the two games.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. Taylan and Berkan are suspended for Kasımpaşa. So wonder who our six will be in that game. Yeah. Will it be Atalay?
Well, I'm
actually Gelmez.
Yeah, I'm afraid. We're getting close to that relegation zone, boys.
6 points now, is it? I haven't really checked, but I think we're very close.
Yeah. Well, we're also not very far from the top 4, but that's our league, right?
That's true.
So,
unfortunately,
I'll just close it off. I'll say thank you for listening to our listeners. Shout out to our WhatsApp group that probably listen to this as well. So we discussed today about Terim leaving Galatasaray, general events around that. Dominic Torrent Font coming in, what we think about it, and the game that we had today. Got my sad voice on there. And Oh, maybe before we close it off. Nah, I'll just close it off. I think we have because I had some dreams, very weird dreams, but maybe for next episode.
It's a good
That'll be a new
cliffhanger.
segment.
All right, say goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
See
Thank you
you,
for listening.
boys.
Cheers.